Incredible 8-year-old mocked for eating bread and water discovers life-changing friendship with new girl. Charlie sat alone at the lunch table, his heart feeling heavy as he stared at the plain sandwich and cup of water before him. The laughter of his classmates echoed around the cafeteria like a cruel melody. "Look, it's the poor kid having his daily bread and water," someone shouted, causing a ripple of snickers to pass through the crowd. Charlie forced a smile, but inside, he felt like he was crumbling like an old cookie. Raised by his single mother, Sarah, who worked near the diner and the bakery, Charlie learned the values of hard work and perseverance early on. He knew his reality bread and water were all they could spare. Yet he'd often daydream about the other kids' lunches, with pizza slices and colorful snacks piled high. Still, he tried to focus on the good. Sarah poured her love into the bakery, baking beautiful treats that filled the house with warmth and sweetness. He often closed his eyes and imagined their rich aroma. Then, one bright Tuesday, fate intervened. A girl with bright red hair, wearing a pink dress, approached him. It was Mia, the new girl who had just moved from the affluent part of town. "Hi, can I join you?" she asked, her voice gentle like a warm breeze. Charlie blinked in surprise. Sure," he replied, feeling something shift in the air between them. They sat together, and as laughter spilled from her lips, Charlie felt lighter. Mia listened as he shared stories about the bakery, the heavenly smell of fresh bread, the colorful cakes, and the way Sarah's face lit up when someone praised her work. To Charlie's delight, Mia loved baking too. They bonded over recipes and dreams of creating amazing desserts together someday. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the school year went on, their friendship blossomed. They started volunteering at Sarah's bakery, their giggles mixing with the soft sounds of kneading dough. Charlie felt a warm glow in his chest. At last, he had someone who understood him. But just when it seemed like everything was changing for the better, an unfair reprimand shook his world. During class, their kind teacher dismissed Charlie's dreams as unrealistic because of his background. The words felt like daggers, darkening his spirit, and Mia's eyes widened in disbelief. The weight of social prejudices pressed down, and whispers erupted from the other students, unkind murmurs about the poor boy who had ambitious dreams. Could they stand up against this? For the first time, doubt crept into Charlie's heart. Would their friendship withstand the barriers of society that tried separating them? As the school year approached its end, they faced a moment that would shape their identities forever, leaving a question hanging like the aroma of baked bread. Could they turn this injustice into something that ignited hope, or would it pull them apart? The next day, the cafeteria felt different. The laughter was still there, but it buzzed with a faint sense of tension. Charlie picked at his sandwich, his thoughts turning in circles. He glanced at Mia, who was sitting across from him, her expression serious. It frightened him a little. He wanted their friendship to be filled with light and laughter, not weighed down by the darker side of the world. "Charlie," Mia said softly, breaking his spiral of thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened yesterday." He took a breath, his heart racing. "Me too. It really hurt," he admitted, pushing his food away. "I thought teachers were supposed to inspire you, not tear you down." Mia reached out and took his hand. "We can't let them win. We're going to make our dreams a reality. Together." Her certainty warmed him, igniting a little spark in the gloom. "What did you have in mind?" He felt a stir of hope but was still unsure. Mia grinned, her eyes sparkling. "We should make a presentation. Let our classmates know how amazing baking can be. Let us show them the magic that happens in the bakery, and maybe even the joy it can bring to others." His heart leapt at her enthusiasm. "Like a cooking demonstration? I could show everyone how to make our favorite cookies." "Exactly." Mia's excitement was contagious. And then we could even sell them. With the money, we can donate to a charity or something. We can make a difference. And we can bake together, just like we've always dreamed. Charlie felt his face break into a smile, feeling for a moment like the shadows of doubt were being chased away. I love that idea. We could call it baking hope or something like that. Mia's laughter rang out, and it made the dull cafeteria seem brighter. Baking hope it is. Let us start planning after school. As they discussed their plans, Charlie started to forget the mocking words. The warmth of their bond felt unshakable, and the excitement of their project grew like the dough they kneaded in Sarah's bakery. However, just as things seemed to be turning around, a shadow passed over Mia's face. What if no one comes? What if the kids just laugh at us again? His stomach tightened, the doubt creeping back. I guess we won't know unless we try. But what if we fail? Charlie felt his heart sink. He wished he could tell her that everything would be perfect, that their ideas would lead them to a sea of applause. But they both knew the truth. It was a risk. Drawing a deep breath, he looked into her eyes with determination. If we fail, at least we tried. Together. And that means we're still winning, right? Mia nodded slowly, her smile returning, albeit a bit hesitant. Right. They walked back to class, their minds racing with plans but in the midst of shadows still lurking. As the days rolled into weeks, anticipation filled the air. But could they face the very judgment they were fighting against? The moment was approaching, a crossroads ahead that could either lift them up or push them down. Charlie felt the pressure build within him. Would their shared courage shine bright enough to ignite the hope they craved? Or would they be snuffed out before their light could even flicker? What if this was only the beginning? Would they discover strength far beyond the bakery's warmth or crumble under expectations? The day arrived, and the cafeteria was buzzing with the frantic energy of students. Mia and Charlie rushed to set up their little presentation booth, which was adorned with bright posters and colorful images of their favorite baked goods. The smell of cookies wafted through the air, momentarily calming Charlie's butterflies. "Do you think anyone will even stop by?" he asked, biting his lip as he watched groups of kids milling around. "Of course. They'll all come for the cookies," Mia replied, her voice bubbling with excitement, despite the flicker of anxiety in her eyes. With every passing minute, more students filed into the cafeteria. Charlie's hope was slowly drowning in a wave of self-doubt. He could hear snippets of conversations, laughter, and occasional teasing echoing just out of reach. "Hey, look at those two. Think they're cooking for the whole school?" Someone snickered. Charlie felt heat rush to his cheeks. "Come on," Mia said, her grip on his hand tightening. "Let us focus on what we're doing. We can't let their words get to us." She took a deep breath, and he did too, trying to match her courage. Moments later, a small crowd began to form around their booth. Just as Charlie started to relax, a few familiar faces emerged from the back, the same kids who had laughed at them before. His heart raced, and he could feel the tension swirling around him. Would they even give them a chance? "Are you two really going to teach us how to bake?" One of them called out, a smirk on his face. The laughter that followed felt like daggers. Charlie's pulse quickened, and he almost turned to run. But before he could blink, Mia stepped forward, her voice steady. "Yes, we're going to show you how to make the best cookies you've ever tasted." The surprise on their faces crackled through the air, and Charlie marveled at how Mia transformed in that moment, her confidence radiating like sunlight breaking through clouds. With a quick glance at him, she flashed a grin that told him she was all in. "All right, who's ready for some fun?" She cheered, and slowly the group quieted down. Grabbing a ball of dough, she started to demonstrate how to roll it out. "Baking is all about teamwork. Let us make this together." More kids began to gather around, intrigued despite themselves. Charlie found his rhythm alongside Mia, mixing ingredients and laughing as the dough took shape. Before long, everyone was participating. The tension in Charlie's chest melted away with every smile exchanged. As sweet aromas filled the cafeteria, Charlie noticed a girl, her arms crossed, watching them skeptically. Unsure but hopeful, he stepped toward her. "Want to help?" he asked, offering her some dough. She hesitated but eventually took it, cracking a smile when a blob of dough flopped over her hands. Okay, this is pretty fun. Laughter erupted, dissipating the last shadows of doubt. Everyone was working together, sharing stories amidst the flurry of cookie shapes and sprinkles flying everywhere. Charlie felt a rush of warmth swell within him. This wasn't just a baking project. It was a moment of unity, tearing down walls they didn't even know existed. As they transferred the cookies onto trays, a thought struck Charlie. Was this what they were meant to do? Share joy through baking? With the cookies now in the oven, he turned to Mia, his heart racing again. What if we could do this more often? Like a bake sale for charity? Mia's eyes lit up, wide with excitement. We could really make a difference. But will they still support us? Yeah, I think they will. It's not just about the cookies. It's about the community we're building. And then, as the timer beeped, signaling the end of their first communal bake, Charlie realized that their journey had just begun. Just as they began to pull the cookies out, he heard whispers from the back. We should have a baking club. Mia looked at him, her smile radiant and filled with possibility. Could we actually make this work? They both wondered, as Charlie's heart raced with anticipation for what lay ahead. The cafeteria was alive with the scent of warm cookies and an unexpected camaraderie. Laughter rang out as trays of baked goodies emerged, and Charlie felt the atmosphere shift. It became a vibrant space full of possibilities, where what had once felt like a daunting challenge was now a celebration of togetherness. Look at those, someone yelled, pointing at a tray of chocolate chip cookies pulled fresh from the oven. People crowded around, and Charlie could see the delight on their faces as the warm treats melted in their mouths. Their laughter made the world feel a bit lighter, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something magical was happening. Mia looked thrilled, too. Can you believe this? She said, her eyes sparkling. We really did it, Charlie. His heart swelled, a wave of disbelief mingling with happiness. I can't believe they're actually enjoying this. Just then, the girl who had first hesitated to join them stepped forward again, biting into a cookie with a look of pure joy. You guys should really do this again. I want to learn more. Charlie felt a rush of pride. It was more than just cooking. They were cooking up connections. We're thinking about starting a baking club, he blurted out, excitement bubbling over. More cheers echoed in response, and Charlie felt like he could fly. What he had imagined was no longer just a dream. They were becoming part of something bigger, something that could transform the way people connected with each other. Kids began to discuss what they would bake next, tossing out ideas like sprinkles. Charlie joined in, throwing out suggestions that sparked even more enthusiasm. How about cupcakes? Or maybe brownies? The ideas overflowed, and Charlie started to see their hopes written across the faces of the kids around him. It was exhilarating. But then a familiar voice cut through the euphoria. You really think a club is going to change anything? It was the same guy who had mocked them earlier. His smirk cut through the moment, and for a second, doubt crept back into Charlie's heart. Charlie's confidence wobbled precariously. But Mia, as if reading his thoughts, stepped forward. Why not? She challenged. Instead of just standing there, why don't you join us? It could be fun. Everyone turned to look at him, clearly unsure how to respond. Tension hung in the air, thick like dough before it's baked. The laughter dimmed, and Charlie could feel the pulse of anxiety return. The boy hesitated, brow furrowed. Do you really think anyone would want me to join? I mean, I don't bake. That's why we're starting a club, Mia replied, her voice brimming with warmth. To teach everyone, no matter what. We want everyone to feel welcome. For a moment, the cafeteria felt hopelessly silent, as if the very air was holding its breath. Charlie was waiting for a sign, a shift in the room, something. And then, as if she had cast a spell, a ripple of approval began to spread among the crowd. Yeah, we'd love to have you, someone called out. The boy's expression changed, and for the first time he smiled. Okay, maybe I will. The room filled with chatter again, and Charlie turned to Mia, eyes wide. Did you see that? We actually reached him. For a fleeting moment, Charlie felt like they could change the world, one cookie at a time. Can you imagine how powerful this could be? He mused aloud. What Mia didn't realize was that beneath her brave smile, a wave of vulnerability washed over her. What if they couldn't keep this going? What if the very thing they were building started to crumble the moment they turned their backs? As excitement filled their conversation, Charlie couldn't shake the sensation that shadows still lurked nearby, waiting to test their newfound bond. What awaited them next could either bind them closer or tear them apart. Let us meet tomorrow, Mia said suddenly, passion in her tone. We can finalize the club details. Yep. Charlie echoed, and as voices rose, so did their spirits. But the question hung heavy in the air: would this unity endure? Or was it just a sweet moment behind the oven's warm glow? The next day held a promise, but also uncertainty, like unbaked dough waiting for the oven's heat. What encounter would challenge the bonds they'd just begun to forge? The next day, the cafeteria buzzed with anticipation. Charlie and Mia arrived early, their hearts racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. The tables were already adorned with crumpled papers scribbled with ideas, recipes handwritten in bright colors. Felt alive with potential. As kids trickled in, their faces lit up when they spotted the makeshift decorations. A bright banner reading "Baking Club First Meeting" hung above the serving table, and there were colorful markers scattered around for anyone willing to contribute ideas. The vibe was infectious. Look at this, Mia exclaimed, pointing to one of the tables where kids were sitting, noses deep in their notebooks. They're already brainstorming. Charlie smiled. He felt a warmth swell in his chest, a sense of belonging blossoming like the cookies they would bake together. Not everyone was chatty, though. He noticed Zane, the boy who had been uncertain yesterday, silently doodling in his own notebook. His brow was furrowed, and doubt still clouded his eyes, like a rock stuck in the middle of a flowing river. Hey Zane, Charlie called, waving him over. Want to share what you're working on? Zane looked up, biting his lip. I wasn't sure if I had any good ideas. Mia jumped in, her elbows resting on the table. Your ideas are just as important as anyone's. Everyone brings something special to the table. Zane hesitated but finally approached them. Maybe cookies with fruit? I don't know. Fantastic, Charlie encouraged, standing a little taller. That sounds delicious. As more kids piled in, so did the chatter and laughter. Charlie's heart swelled again, but the tension with Zane lingered in the air. Would he find a place in this community? Suddenly, the cafeteria doors swung open, and it was Davis, the same guy whose condescending words had cast a shadow over yesterday's joy. He threw a half-hearted glance at the banner and snorted. Really? A baking club? As if that's going to make any difference. Charlie's stomach dropped, and the room dimmed momentarily. Encouraged by Mia's earlier example, he decided to take a stand. You could join us, you know. We're just here to have fun and connect. His voice trembled but remained firm. Davis shrugged, feigning indifference. Yeah, right. Good luck with that, he said, rolling his eyes while walking towards the snack counter. Their spirits dipped. Moments felt fragile, just waiting for something to shatter them. Zane shifted beside Charlie, clearly uncomfortable. Why do people have to be like that? He whispered. I don't know, Charlie admitted, biting his lip. But we can't let them ruin our fun or the friendships we're building. Yeah, I hope so, Zane replied, glancing once more at Davis, who was now mocking the baking club banner for his friends across the room. The group at the table caught some of the snickering, and Charlie's heart sank. He wanted to shout out that this was about more than just cookies. It was about acceptance, understanding, and learning together. Guys, let us make this club unforgettable. Mia brightened the atmosphere again. How about we start with a baking challenge today? Teams, we can pair up and share our recipes. Chatter erupted again as everyone eagerly started to form teams, and for a moment, the outside voices faded. Zane's eyes sparkled as he turned to Charlie. Can we team up? Definitely, Charlie replied, relief washing over him. We can make those fruit cookies. As the kids began to gather the ingredients, Charlie looked at Mia and Zane, who were completely absorbed in the joy of creation. There was something profound happening. a shift that seemed unable to be interrupted. But Davis and his friends still lurked nearby, their laughter ringing sharp against the cozy camaraderie. The weight of doubt flared back at the edges of Charlie's mind. How long could they keep this solidarity in the face of that mockery? As the first batch of cookies began to take shape and fill the air with incredible scents, one question hung heavy. Would the warmth they baked together be enough to stand against the coldness outside? Their circle? And that was when Charlie caught a glimmer of something in Zane's eyes, a spark of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, was powerful enough to spark a fire. The warmth from the oven filled the cafeteria, enveloping the kids in a comforting embrace. Charlie watched as Zane mixed the ingredients with renewed purpose, his earlier hesitations melting away like butter. Laughter bubbled up, and the chatter echoed, drowning out Davis's taunts. Charlie took a moment to breathe it all in, the sticky dough on his fingers, the vibrant colors of the markers scattered around, and the hopeful expressions written on the faces surrounding him. Each child seemed to have a spark ignited, working together, sharing stories while they stirred and rolled. Mia was focused, her brows furrowed in concentration as she measured out sugar. "Okay, Zane," she said with a smile, "how much fruit do you want to use in these cookies?" Zane looked thoughtful. "Maybe we could try a mix? Like blueberries and apples? It'll make them really colorful." "Great idea. Let us give it a shot," Mia replied, her enthusiasm infectious. Against the backdrop of creativity, Charlie noticed the hesitant glances exchanged by a few kids nearby. They were first-timers, still unsure, shadows of their potential under the bright lights of possibility. Charlie could see that they were curious, drawn in by the aromas wafting from his group, but hesitant to step closer. "Hey, everyone," Charlie called, raising his voice just enough to catch their attention. "We're making fruit cookies. Want to join us? We could use more hands." One by one, faces lit up at the invitation. A boy with messy hair ran over, followed by a girl clutching her notebook. "Can we help?" they asked, excitement bubbling in their voices. Of course. Zane beamed, his earlier anxiousness washed away. The more the merrier. As the kids mingled, some exchanged ideas while others donned makeshift aprons crafted from lunchroom napkins. Laughter filled the air like music as they began to create a symphony of flavors, zesting lemons and chopping apples with comical determination. But amidst the joy, Charlie's attention slipped back to Davis and his friends, who were still lurking at the edge of the room. Their eyes tracked the baking crew like predators waiting for the moment to pounce. Charlie felt his heart flutter, a twinge of doubt gnawing at him. They couldn't let those negative voices erase what they were building. This was their moment. "Hey guys!" Charlie shouted again, directing his cheer towards Davis. "Come on, why don't you join us? Baking is better with more people." The laughter died down, and silence fell for a heartbeat. Davis rolled his eyes, crossing his arms. "You think I'm going to bake cookies? No way, that's not cool." "Maybe you'd be surprised." Mia jumped in, her voice bright. "It's a lot of fun, and you can make your own recipe." At this, a flicker of curiosity crossed Davis's face. But before he could respond, a girl near the back, one who had just joined their group, hopped up with determination. "Come on, Davis. What's cooler than being part of a team?" Davis paused, the familiar smirk fading slightly. Charlie exchanged glances with Zane and Mia, feeling the gravity of the moment. This was the chance for something more. As the challenge of camaraderie swelled, Davis glanced at his friends. Uncertainty flickered in his eyes as the laughter from the baking group offered a tempting escape from his usual role. I don't know," he muttered in a half-hearted tone. "Just give it a try," Zane called out encouragingly. "You might even like it. What if today could be the day things changed? If Davis could step away from his old routine, might they transform not just cookies but even heart and attitude?" The air thick with anticipation, Charlie couldn't shake the hope blooming in his chest. But just as quickly, uncertainty crept back. Could they really bridge that gap? Before he could answer his own question, the scent of baking cookies filled the cafeteria, cutting through the tension. Would it bring the wall down that had kept them apart for too long? The morning was drawing to a close, But the real test of their new friendships was yet to come. Would they walk out of this adventure together, or would laughter continue to echo in empty halls? The shift in the atmosphere, fragile yet hopeful, hung in the air like the cookie dough waiting to rise. Davis stood at the edge, wrestling with the choice before him. The energy in the room pulsed like a living thing, a mixture of laughter and the sweet smells of baked goods tugging at him. Charlie's eyes were steady, filled with encouragement, igniting a flicker of something unfamiliar within him. What if he did join them? After what felt like an eternity, Davis finally sighed, dropping his arms. Okay, fine. I'll give it a shot, he said, his voice brimming with reluctant bravery. Charlie fought back a grin as Davis stepped forward. Cheers erupted from the kids, and suddenly the room felt like a stage where they were all playing a part together. Mia quickly handed him a napkin apron, which he tied around his waist, a small smile cracking his tough exterior. Out of the corner of his eye, Charlie saw Davis's friends glance at one another, surprised. Matching the vibe, Zane guided everyone in a process. First up, we need a base. Who's ready to mush the bananas? The kids rallied to grab overripe bananas, peeling them with enthusiasm. Davis hesitated when the others started to mash, his hands trembling slightly as he took hold of one. Just squish it. No pressure. Zane encouraged, laughter echoing around him. With a grin creeping onto his face, Davis squished the banana into gooey pulp, and the kids erupted in laughter at his exaggerated effort. He was already beginning to lighten up, the walls around him pulling back. As they blended the fruits, discussions erupted over their ideal cookie flavors, each suggestion more outrageous than the last. How about sour gummies? One girl yelled. No way, that's too wild. Another countered, and soon debate filled the air. Charlie noticed that for once, Davis was in the thick of it, trying to defend his outlandish ideas, the earlier disdain replaced with genuine excitement. Okay, Davis said, holding his hands up in mock surrender. Sour gummies it is. He laughed lightly, and there was something different in his laugh, softer and more open. The team worked in harmony, measuring and mixing, occasional splatters of flour transforming them into hilarious masterpieces. But then, the bubbling joy took an unexpected turn. Davis's smirk faded as he looked at the clock on the wall. The time was flying by, and he could hear the unspoken pressure from his friends outside, waiting for him to return. Do you have to go? Zane asked, reading the shift in Davis's demeanor. Davis shifted from one foot to the other, his eyes darting around. Yeah, probably. The laughter around him felt colder then, and a knot formed in Charlie's stomach. Yet, in that moment, Davis paused, overwhelmed by the warmth of their shared experience. I guess I could stay a little longer. Joy surged within the group, but as Charlie glanced at Davis's friends, he saw a flash of disapproval. They leaned against the wall, arms crossed, sneering softly at the group enjoying themselves. The tension snapped tight in the air, a question hanging over them: would Davis abandon this budding connection for the familiar shadows of his old life? Davis, it's your choice. But if you leave now, you might miss the best batch of cookies ever made, Charlie said, his voice steady but filled with warmth. Davis took a breath, eyes flickering between his friends and the joy-filled room before him. This wasn't just about cookies anymore. It was about discovering where he belonged. Would he choose the laughter echoing around the room, or the dark whisper of what was expected? As the time crawled toward a decision, a stillness fell over the crowd, wrapped in anticipation. What would Davis choose? Would he run back to the comfort of judgment, or take a leap into something uncertain yet exhilarating? The cafeteria, filled with warmth and the scent of baking cookies, waited for his answer. Davis studied the faces surrounding him. The laughter and joy seemed to tug at something inside him, a thread that pulled tighter as he became aware of the familiar weight of his friends' expectations. But here, in this moment, he felt lighter, almost free. I guess I'll stay, he finally said, excitement bubbling through the mixture of apprehension. The cheer that erupted from the kids brought a warmth to his chest he hadn't expected. Charlie's eyes sparkled with pride, and for the first time, Davis felt like he belonged somewhere. As the kids resumed their work, there was a renewed energy in the room. They poured in ingredients like they were pouring in joy, laughter mixing with the sweetness of the batter. Davis found himself joining in debates about cookie textures and flavors, arguing vehemently that sour gummies were indeed a revolutionary choice. Each laugh pulled him a little closer to the carefree spirit of the group, reminding him of simpler times when all that mattered was fun. "Okay, who wants to add the chocolate chips?" Mia asked, holding the bag like it was a treasure chest. Hands shot up, including Davis's. He couldn't help it. There was something about the camaraderie that made his heart race with excitement. Zane poured a generous amount of chocolate into the mix, and everyone cheered. Davis could feel the warmth of the moment wrapping around him, thawing away the frost of judgment he was so used to. "Let us get these in the oven," Zane called out. The kids scrambled, shoving spoonfuls onto trays with an energy that could only come from pure joy. But the joy didn't last long. Just as they placed the trays in the oven, the cafeteria door swung open. A group of Davis's friends stepped in, still clad in their hoodies, faces a blend of confusion and annoyance. The room went silent, and for a moment, the air felt thick and tense like the calm before a storm. "Davis, what are you doing?" One of them marched forward, his voice cold. "You know these guys are losers, right?" The words cut through the laughter like a knife. Davis glanced around, seeing the kids' wide eyes, their excitement drained for just a heartbeat. Charlie stepped forward, his expression set with determination. "No, they're not. We're just having fun. You should try it." Davis's heart raced as he felt the battlefield formed between his friends and the warmth of this makeshift family he was starting to claim. "Guys, it's not what you think," he said, his voice trembling just a bit. "Really? Don't tell me you're actually enjoying this?" Came the incredulous response. In that moment, the laughter felt like a fragile bubble in a room full of sharp edges. Davis swallowed hard. He had a choice. He could walk back to the familiar, where silence and judgment haunted him like shadows. Or he could stand here, risking what little acceptance he had for something that felt real and alive. What's wrong with having fun? He found himself asking, the words surprising even him. His friends paused. The laughter from the kitchen started to fade within him, replaced by the weight of the moment. Two worlds were colliding. One filled with expectations, the other with warmth and laughter. Which path would he walk down? Davis felt a small pull inside him, a yearning that whispered to choose differently. "Stay," he heard Charlie say softly, as if sensing the turmoil roiling inside him. It was one word, but it felt monumental. The laughter was still alive, but so was the tension. Davis looked back at his friends and then at the group of kids who had welcomed him, and the walls he thought were sturdy began to shake. Could he really take that leap? What was waiting for him on the other side if he did? As he stood there, straddling the line between two worlds, the oven timer beeped, breaking the tension momentarily. The cookies were ready, but would he be brave enough to claim a piece of his own happiness? Davis hesitated, the beep of the timer ringing in his ears like a clarion call. The faces around him were a mix of hope and uncertainty. Would he really choose this? The children's laughter, now bordering on anxious, seemed to urge him forward, while the weight of his friends' stares threatened to pull him back. "Simon, Davis, the cookies are gonna be awesome." Mia beamed, her enthusiasm infectious. For a second, he could imagine living here, with these kids who didn't care about reputation or respect. They just wanted to have fun. It fed a part of him that had been too quiet for too long. He took a breath, grounding himself. "I want to help." The words felt like a promise he was making to himself as much as to them. "See? S.N." Zane shouted, slapping Davis on the back as he ambled over to the trays, a goofy grin spreading across his face. The sudden acceptance made Davis's heart flutter, and, for the first time in ages, he felt the thrill of belonging washing over him. With a renewed sense of purpose, Davis helped with frosting and toppings, getting flour all over himself in the process. The laughter bounced off the walls, the sweet aroma of cookies baking filled the air, and in that small kitchen, things felt just right. "Who wants to decorate?" Charlie asked, holding up a bowl of colorful sprinkles. Hands flew up again, and it felt like a whirlwind of creativity. It was incredible. The kids were sharing stories, teasing each other, creating daring combinations of toppings that made no sense but made everyone laugh. "Davis, look, I made a cookie monster," Mia shouted, holding out her creation with crooked eyes made of candy. "That's the best cookie monster I've ever seen," Davis exclaimed, the warmth in his voice surprising him. As they piled their creations on a table, the sound of his friends murmuring outside the kitchen drifted in. "You seriously don't think he's actually having fun, do you?" One of them chuckled dismissively. The laughter of the kids bucked the walls of doubt, urging him to stand tall against the sneers of his friends. "Yeah, I do," Davis shouted back, surprising everyone, including himself. "Why does it matter if I'm having fun?" The kids cheered again, but the energy shifted. It was no longer just about the cookies. It was about stepping into who he was, about embracing the joy he had almost tossed aside. Would his friends get it? Would they understand? As the last of the cookies came out of the oven, the golden brown treats glistened under the kitchen lights, and everyone clapped in celebration. "Let us show them," Zane said excitedly. Holding a tray of cookies, the kids marched toward the cafeteria door, ready to confront the world outside. Davis's heart raced. The weight of his friends' expectations hung heavy, but there was fire in his heart, a determination to face them shoulder to shoulder with his new family. They stopped at the door, and with one last look at the group of kids beside him, Davis felt a rush of courage surging through him. He pushed the door open, stepping out into the crowd. "Check this out," Zane declared. What would his friends say now? Davis was bracing himself for some Snickers, but he also felt a new thrill, the thrill of standing with the kids who had become his unexpected allies in a sea of doubt. But as he glanced back, he noticed one of his friends looking at him, mouth hanging open. What did that look mean? Would they ridicule him? Or was there a chance they might join in the fun? Would the joy he felt with the kids spill over into acceptance? The moment felt like a pendulum, swinging between hope and fear, and ultimately, it was all still hanging in the balance. Davis took a deep breath, heart pounding, but this time, it was for a reason beyond just anticipation. Would he stand firm among laughter and warmth, or would he retreat back to the familiar coldness of judgment? Maybe this was the moment he'd been waiting for, the moment that could change everything. The cafeteria buzzed with energy as Charlie, Mia, Zane, and now Davis stood together, proudly clutching their tray of cookies, a symbol of their triumph over doubt and prejudice. As they stepped into view, the laughter and chatter gradually faded, all eyes turning towards the new baking champions. Davis felt an awkward flutter in his stomach, but he clutched the tray tighter. The warmth of acceptance surged through him, pushing back the icy hesitations. "Hey everyone," Zane called out, a sparkle in his eye. "We made these together. Who wants to try some?" His voice broke through the tension like a blast of summer air. For a moment, silence hung in the air, then a few brave hands reached out to take cookies. Charlie's heart raced. Each smile that spread across faces in return felt like a silent promise they could foster real connection through something as simple as baking. "Wow, these are amazing," a girl from the back called out, her eyes lighting up as she took a bite. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and suddenly, laughter filled the cafeteria again. Could it truly be this easy? Joy bubbled up, and Davis felt his heart swell. The contagious delight swept through him like a warm tide, and for the first time in as long as he could remember, he felt free. But among the exhilaration, the doubt still lingered at the edges. Could validation and acceptance last? He caught sight of his old friends, their faces muddled with confusion. Would they understand? Davis took a deep breath, feeling Charlie's steady gaze beside him. This moment was bigger than any old allegiance. It was about being a part of something real. Seriously, he called out, finding his voice. "This isn't just about cookies. We're building a community here. Everyone has something to share." To his surprise, his voice was steady. He felt weight lift off his shoulders. "You're right," Mia chimed in, her excitement shining like the sprinkles atop their cookies. Welcome to the baking club. We want everyone to feel included. Unbeknownst to them, their words were reaching back to those who had once laughed at them. Curiosity began to flicker amongst the crowd, and Davis took a step closer, his heart racing. Davis's old friends exchanged glances, their eyebrows lifted at the unexpected turn of events. For years, he had felt the pressure to conform, to fit into a mold of popularity defined by ridicule. But now, standing amongst the laughter and joy, he saw a light he never thought possible flickering in their eyes. Is it really this fun? One of his buddies finally piped up, taking a cautious step forward. Could we maybe try it? Elation surged within Davis. It was happening. This was what they wanted: unfiltered joy, shared experiences crafted from the very spirit of their childhood innocence. Of course, he beamed. Join us. There are plenty of cookies to bake. And then, like a chain reaction, the kids who had laughed began to wander over, tentatively curious. As they stepped into that space of creativity and joy, the separation began to dissolve. Laughter came back, warm and inviting, enveloping everyone as they all reached for dough and frosting, pulling together in a colorful splash of inclusion and togetherness. Charlie watched with a broad smile as the barriers began to fall. They weren't just baking cookies anymore. They were crafting a legacy of friendship, warmth, and understanding. Zane grinned at Davis, his eyes sparkling. You see? You made the right choice. Davis nodded slowly, soaking in the moment the laughter, the newfound friendships, but deep down, he felt a ripple of something profound. What he had once fought against now stood open before him like an endless horizon. Let us make it a tradition, he shouted, and the collective cheer erupted like fireworks across the cafeteria. More baking, more laughter. As the crowd joined in the joyous shouts, Charlie looked around, his spirit soaring higher than it ever had before. They had forged a bond that would transcend their backgrounds, cultural scars, or societal expectations. They had created a safe haven within those warm, flower-dusted walls. I can't believe we did it, he whispered to Mia, who stood beside him, her eyes glistening with pride and joy. She looked at him, her radiant smile infectious. This is just the beginning. Baking will unite us. They would embrace the imperfections, each unique flavor and story woven into the fabric of their lives. And as they worked together, they found healing not just through baking, but through understanding and friendship. That day, a remarkable transformation took hold. They were no longer kids defined by obstacles. Instead, they were a thriving tapestry of laughter, love, and resilience. And amid the flower, the laughter, and the baked goods surrounding them, Charlie felt the bittersweet essence of acceptance wash over him like golden sunlight. They had turned bread and water into cookies and friendship, a heartwarming reminder that sometimes all you really need is a little hope baked with love. Now is the time to show your support for us. You need to subscribe now to not miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us share more joyous moments. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We're in this together. Your support makes a difference.